postpartum psychosis hits everybody. It doesn't, anyone can experience it.
I can't cope with having a child who, I had no bond. I know I must love him on some level.
We have people from absolutely all walks of life, all backgrounds, all social sort of economic backgrounds, and a variety of cultures. I think we've probably had virtually someone from everywhere in the world on this unit.
I just felt so different and separated from everybody else.
I thought she would be better off without me, but at that point I couldn't get rid of myself.
I wasn't depressed, yes, but I was suicidal, but I wasn't depressed in that way. I wasn't crying, I couldn't cry.
I couldn't really care for her and feed her and keep her warm because I had suddenly felt that I couldn't do that for me.
So do you love your baby?
Yeah, I wouldn't have known how to answer that.
The first time I wasn't diagnosed properly. I was diagnosed with postnatal depression, and I thought I'd given birth to the Antichrist. My child, I believed, had little devils living inside his stomach, which would come out at night and dance around my kitchen floor.
I just remember looking out and all the leaves were just, like there's the sort of really calm wind and everything was just like scintillating and twittering. I'd just been having all these nice sort of dream hallucinations and lots of rainbow colours, everything bright and sparkly. And I thought, this is absolutely fantastic, I'm so blessed. And then by 11 o'clock at night I was looking out thinking it's really dark. And there was a moon and it was split and it was yin and yang and everything was symbolic.
By the time I got up to London, I was trying to commit suicide. I wasn't on 24-hour watch, I think I was on hourly obs. But they hadn't realised that when I asked to go for a bath, I was trying to drown myself. But it's harder than it looks. I remember at one point I was trying to hold my breath until I suffocated, but of course I passed out. And then of course you naturally breathe again. And in the meantime my psychiatrist had assessed me, but they asked me if I knew why I was there, and I just nodded. And of course he was asking, did I realise that I was unwell? But what I thought he was asking was, did I realise I was being recruited for MI6?
They were audible, so I had lots of music, voices of famous people as well as relatives. Everything went very bright and everything was intensified hugely, and my life sped forward like a spool of film, and it was almost like rushing to the edge of my life and getting to, I suppose, what we term as heaven. My husband was called, and then I was more and more irritated. I think the euphoria started to turn into this extreme tiredness, and I got irritated and cross.
By the morning I was so suicidal, I tried to set fire to myself. Piled up all my magazines and my clothes and set fire to them. At which point, they had to evacuate the entire unit, call the fire brigade, get me out of there, tranquilise me, and it was at that point they sectioned me because I was clearly not well.
We, the people who've had mental health problems, can't get over the stigma, then how can people who haven't? Going mad, losing your mind, but how do you explain it? In the middle of Boots, having to use words like that and try and sum it up in a nutshell and not have any understanding.
I was left on my own with my husband.
My mum and dad certainly know firsthand because they were there every day visiting.
It is very frightening, mental health problems, and that's as far as it's gone. And she never really understood. She wasn't interested, or she gave this impression she wasn't interested.
My dad was in his 70s, and he had a polio injection, so he could come over and change my son's nappies.
And I told her postpartum psychosis. Oh, what's that? So I really struggled, and I said, well, it's like losing your mind. And then there's nothing back, and at that I just felt very vulnerable.
I went back to work after 6 months, but I had great fear that they'd take my registration away from me because of this fit to practice. This was one of the things in my mind. I was terrified, and if somebody reports it, so I never told anybody at work.
But I don't think they ask enough questions about family history.
I was visited at home by my health visitor. It was 3 days after the birth, and she didn't see any of the signs. 24 hours later, I was in A&E.
12 instances where I could have been referred to the service, and all these warning signs that I was very ill, but were all missed. But then the crisis team came, didn't notice any of the signs. When they do your booking-in appointment, they ask you a couple of questions about mental health, don't they, and tick the boxes. But I don't think they ask enough questions about family history, and I think they should be more vigilant in the same way they are about all the other kind of physical illnesses. They should be about mental health.
When I first went into hospital, I remember just passing a nurse in the corridor and saying, "What's wrong with me?" And all I wanted was an explanation. I knew something was wrong, but nobody had told me. And she just looked at me as if I was stupid. "You've got postnatal depression." And I said, "But I'm not depressed."
Yeah. Because sometimes you're treated like a bundle of chemicals, and they just want to get the chemical level balance right, and then get you out, and you don't have. Nobody sits down to you and explains what psychosis is, what could have happened, treats you like a human being. Economically, it's a false economy. It's so much cheaper to just find someone a really decent bed and a really good mother and baby unit. It's the best way to get you better and your child, and you keep a bond, and you get so much help. It's better for the child in the long run in society. They get you into a decent routine. They have these nurses, trained nurses, whether they're paediatric nurses or psychiatric nurses. They have occupational therapy activities that you can sign up for if you want to. and you have your peers who've been through the same thing that you have.
Obviously the guilt for years and years afterwards is horrendous.
Yeah.
And I just started to build up a little bit of confidence, and I just got swept away again.
When I was discharged from the mother and baby unit, they didn't tell him what to expect. Okay, a bit fragile, but if anyone asked me a question, make a decision, I just couldn't do it. I was absolutely paralysed.
They were trying to ask me every day, somebody different, things about what were normal for me. But I didn't get back to my normal me for 18 months. It was the longest year of our lives, you know.
Having to walk up to the shops, and that was a great big step. And also I suppose, I think the drugs, and I wasn't walking properly anyway, and then they had to put me on another medication, but it was like relearning to do everything again. Really, I couldn't wait in a queue. So that first time I did get to the top of the row, I mean, my mum would come with me, and then I couldn't wait in the post office. I had to come back again.
I tried to forget about it for a while, not talk about it, but I kept getting flashbacks. So every day, something would trigger something. So actually that's sort of why I'm here and getting involved in forums and support, because I feel like that's part of my healing too. As he sort of turned into a toddler, slowly I just started to enjoy, I laughed at, with him today, or and then I suddenly realised, yeah, I do love him.
It's like waking up, isn't it?
Yes,
It's just
yeah.
fantastic.
And then when I got better, I think it was because I got better quite quickly. I came off the medication, and within 2 weeks, it was quite miraculous, the difference. I was making decisions, I could laugh, I could cry. I felt like me again. He says to me, he's 3.5, I love you so much, Mummy, in the post office queue, out of the blue.
And your heart
It
jumps
does,
and you think, oh,
and I
that's
just like
wonderful.
give him a squeeze and tell him I love him back, because that was the time I couldn't do that.
Well, yeah, and you were saying those special moments.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so special.
Yeah.
When that bond does come,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
It get better, and you will have a bond with your child.